In this video, we're going to talk about how you can use the Show Row Expander Icon event to control whether the row expander icon is displayed in a grid. So you can see here in this particular grid, customer number 4 has a row expander, and when I expand that row, I get to see the invoices for that customer, and there's customer number 5, etc. But customer number 8 does not have a row expander icon. By default, when you create a row expander, all of the rows have the row expander icon, and then when you expand a row, if there are no records for that particular parent record, the no records found message is displayed. But in some cases you might want to suppress the icon, the row expander icon, from displaying at all if there are no records, and the Show Row Expander Icon event is used to do that. Of course, there's an expense associated with that because you have to open up the child table to count the number of records before displaying the grid, so you'll need to decide if it's appropriate to actually use that event. So let's go ahead now and see how this was done. So we'll go back to design mode, and here on our events tab you can see here is the Show Row Expander Icon event, and the XBasic behind this event is very simple. In this case we're using a DBF, and so we're using DBF syntax over here, but the same principle would apply for a SQL table. So you can see we open up the invoice header table, and then we create a query for all the records in the invoice table where the customer ID matches the value of the customer ID in the current record, and we get that by looking at e.row data, which is e is passed in, and e.row data is the pointer to the table that the grid is based on, and so the .data method from the table using the customer ID as an argument gives us the value of customer ID in the current row, and then we use the squote function to quote that because customer ID is a character value in this particular table. So here this evaluates, this expression here evaluates to customer ID equals, and then quote, and then say for example 0001, which would be the customer ID in the current row. So we execute that query, we get a pointer to the query that was created, and we read the number of records. If the number of records was 0, then we set the row expander icon to be false, which will turn off the display of the icon, and otherwise we set the return value of the function to true, which will display the icon. Now in the case of a SQL table you would go through a very similar process, excepting that you would use SQL syntax to query the child table. And so here you can see now when we look at our results, there's customer number 8 does not have any invoices, and so there's no row expander icon over there. So that's a quick discussion then on the Show Row Expander Icon system event.